Hi there and welcome back to the channel. I know that it's been a little while since I actually kicked everything off here, but life has been lifing, as they say, and so I really haven't had a chance to get back here, but we're gonna do what we can, right? So hi, my name is Dionne, and this channel is about work life and the everyday, and it's a space where, let's talk, let's communicate, let's have a little natter and I think about various things. It's a space that, guys, will not be like super curated, so please let me just get that out there. It's not going to be a super curated space. It's just a space for us to share thoughts and ideas, and for me to give you a little bit of information as well. So I am a work-life management coach and I do have a 9 to 5, and so to kick things off today, I want to talk with you a little bit about work and how your work life might be impacting your health. But before I do that, I just want to remind you to please do like, comment, share, and subscribe, and tell somebody to come on over here and have a look at what's going on. So how is your work life impacting your health? So before I go on, I will say that the 9 to 5 is not for everybody. Some people do have entrepreneurial aspirations and may feel that why would I want to even think about that? But the 9 to 5 does provide for many people structure, a feeling of fulfillment, a means by which they can impact. It gives them something to do. It gives them a space to socialize, and of course it provides a salary, and a regular salary too. So there is security in that, something that the entrepreneurial life cannot give you. Entrepreneurship is very, how should I put it? You have to have a very strong character to be an entrepreneur and to be able to handle the ups and downs that come along with it, and obviously also the uncertainty that comes with entrepreneurship. When you have a 9 to 5 job, it means that you can pretty much bank and bet your bottom dollar, pun intended, on the fact that your salary will be coming at the end of the month, all being well with your employer. So these are some of the things that make a 9 to 5 a really attractive prospect for many people. So in terms of how your 9 to 5 might be impacting your health, now I'm going to talk about 5 things. So we're going to talk about stress, then burnout or fatigue, anxiety, poor nutritional choices, and the degradation of your relationships. So firstly, stress. And how does your 9 to 5 cause stress? So the long hours that you may do, if your workplace is not a harmonious one, so you don't get on with your colleagues, or there is a lot of tension in the environment, so it's a toxic workspace, if your workload is heavy. And also another thing that can really cause people a lot of stress is if you are looking to progress in your career and there is a lack of progression opportunities, especially in a time like now when there's so much uncertainty because of the economic circumstances. You might find that you want to move on to a more beneficial situation where you can earn some more money or feel more fulfilled, or use your talents more. And if you're not able to do that within your employment now, and you can't see where you can move on, that may cause you a lot of stress, particularly if your home circumstances demand that you need to be earning more. So that's definitely one, stress. Now, to segue on from stress is the fact that if you're stressed at work and you bring that home, then it could mean that your sleep pattern is impacted. And if your sleep pattern is impacted and you don't sleep well and you don't get enough sleep every night or most nights, it means that your concentration in work can be impaired, your performance in work can be impaired, your cognition is impaired, maybe you don't have the physical energy to do all the things that you have to do, you might not be as patient as you need to be, the quick decisions and fast-paced working that you may have to do could also be impacted. So there's a knock-on effect from the stress from work affecting your sleep, and then the fact that you haven't had the sleep now goes back to impact your work. So that's the first one, stress. The second one is burnout or fatigue. And I would say that burnout is the extreme side of fatigue. So it's when you're extremely physically, mentally worn out and you feel quite overwhelmed. And in the workplace, that usually comes from a heavy workload, working long hours, etc. And this is something that can really knock you down and knock you back, and it can take you some time to recover, because as I said, it's not just a case of you feeling a little bit tired. Having a little break here and there may not be enough for you to get over a serious case of burnout. It may even mean that you have to take a good time off, that you have to go and see your doctor, that you may have to look into how you're managing the segue between your home life and your work life, what's happening in your home life that may be impacting how you're able to function. And maybe also a good thing to do would be to speak with your manager to see if there are any changes that you can make to your workload, maybe the area that you're working in, because sometimes, you know, it is the overwhelm that we feel in work. Maybe what we're doing is so time consuming and so pressurizing, and maybe sometimes we feel like we can't manage, and that can lead to a feeling of overwhelm, and then you end up burning out. So please do make sure that you speak to your manager, speak to your doctor, and look after yourself. The next one is anxiety, or feelings of anxiousness, should I say, really. So again, if you're feeling that you're underperforming, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, so you know, no matter what your colleagues say and the great feedback that you get, you just don't feel that you're as good as people say, so you feel that you're a fraud. These sorts of things can make you feel anxious. It can make you worry about how you're getting on in work, and that too can have knock-on effects in your life, and perhaps move on to something that is more of what I would term, you know, anxiety, because feeling anxious is different from having anxiety. The next one is that when we work in a very busy way, or we have busy work lives, if our workloads are heavy, if we have a long commute, if we have a lot that we're cramming into our day, not just our work life, but responsibilities at home, etc., you might find that you make poor nutritional choices. You're grabbing breakfast in the morning on the way to work. You may not be stopping to have lunch. You might be working through lunch, maybe having lunch at your desk. And then that means maybe popping across to the shops or popping down to the canteen, you're grabbing a piece of fruit somewhere, and you're not actually having good nutritious meals. So a busy work life can definitely lead to you making poor nutritional choices. If you work long hours and you come home late a lot, you might feel too tired to make a proper meal in the evening, and so you end up not eating well, and you end up in this cycle of very poor nutritional choices. So what can you do about that? And perhaps I'll go into that a little bit more in another video, but just briefly here, think about meal prepping, but we'll come on to that on another video. And number 5, so we spoke about stress, burnout or fatigue, anxiety, poor nutritional choices, and then number 5 is a degradation of your relationships. Now all of these points take us across your physical health, your mental well-being, and now we're talking about the sort of social or emotional impacts that your work life can have on your health. The degradation of your relationships. I keep talking about long hours and heavy workloads, but these are perhaps the 2 main things that people struggle with. So if you're working long hours, you're not coming home in time to either spend time with your partner or your spouse, you work on weekends, always traveling, you're missing bedtime and bath time with your kids, you aren't able to keep in good contact with your friendship circles, with your parents, with your other family members, you can find that these relationships will break down, they will degrade, and after a while you will find that you don't have that emotional support that you may need, because these relationships have not been nurtured, primarily because of the way that your work life is going. So these are just a number of things for us to think about in view of what your work life is like and how it is that your work life might be impacting your health. So I'm just gonna leave it there today. I will come back on another video to talk a little bit more about what we can do about all of these things that I've just mentioned. So remember guys, to comment, like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend, and I'll see you next time when we'll talk again about life, work, and the everyday. See you then.